This is the way it was just after the storm. But yeah, that's my retirement plan. That's money laying on the ground right there is what they call it.
On October 10th, 2018, a major hurricane ripped through the Florida Panhandle. Hurricane Michael. It did make the news, you probably heard about it at the time, but shortly after, the news moved on to cover deadly wildfires in California. And there have been a lot of major hurricanes in the past couple years, right? But Michael was a Category 5, and deep in the pine forests of the Panhandle, near the Alabama border, nobody has ever experienced a storm quite like this.
We're 70 miles inland. We've always been taught those type of storms, when they roll off the Gulf, they'll slow down. It wasn't a little rain, it wasn't a little wind. It was the third largest hurricane to hit the continental U.S. in recorded history.
We've destroyed a huge slice of Florida. Or we didn't, Michael did.
You know, this is typical of the damage we see.
Timber was overwhelmingly our economic engine.
This would fall into the category of a catastrophic loss.
Catastrophic losses were felt in about half a dozen counties, meaning a majority of the trees snapped. The state conservatively estimates that there's $1.3 billion of damage to the timber economy, and 80% of that was felt by private landowners, many of whom planted timber as a retirement income.
But yeah, that's my retirement plan. That's money laying on the ground right there is what they call it. I planted all my pine trees here in '99 and 2000, and so they've been growing here for 19 years at the time of the storm.
You have to figure that after the storm, there wasn't power for 3 weeks. People had to cut their way out of their driveways.
You see my little debris pile. According to the timber folks, you know, we have about a 6-month window before the pine timber goes bad, and there'll be no market for it after that.
Robby was able to get about half his timber cut and sold before the 6-month window closed, but his check was just over $6,000, about a ninth of what he was counting on.
I got to back up, try to plan out my remaining years, and how to best take care of my family. And right now, I don't have that answer.
And so it raises the question of whether it's worth it to replant, because the land would have to be cleared, that's expensive, and replanted, also expensive.
And I'm looking for retirement income. I'm not looking to spend more money that very likely will not see hardly any return in my lifetime.
The landowners we met, they feel forgotten as the wait for federal assistance drags into its 7th month. To make matters worse, all those small tracts of dried timber are intermingled with people's homes, and it's creating an extreme wildfire threat.
For the wildfire part of this, if it gets in here, it's going to be catastrophic.
This fire, I think when they found it, it was about 30 acres, but you know, it's just a slow progress. We're erring on the side of caution, really, on the amount of equipment.
Roger, I thought I was going to poke this line on up behind me.
The Florida Forest Service is going property to property as a preemptive measure to open up roads free of cost, so that if there's a fire, crews can get in there and fight it.
It's a slow go. The amount of trees that are down right here in this area is unreal. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, trying to figure out where to make the cuts. It's just hard to see this in your communities, you know? I mean, you gotta figure this is 7 months to the day after the storm, and we're still, you know what I mean? It's just so much. There's just so much of it.
After a disaster, we talk about rebuilding. But whose job is it to rebuild a forest?
Left alone, there will be hundreds of thousands of acres in this area that will not get replanted.
We've lost 20 years. I mean, it's going to be 20 years before we've got something that's productive again here, unless they take this land and convert it to something else, like put it back in cropland. But is that what's best for the environment, is to not have trees and timber? If we don't have enough money to put them back in the ground and redo this again, then water quality is going to get degraded, air quality is going to get degraded, wildlife habitat is going to get degraded.
I am young. I will luckily get to see and reap the benefit of replanting this. It's a commitment, it's a love for the land, it's a love for this area. As long as I can make a good living here, I want to try to help as much as I can.
230 plus days after the storm, there is finally some relief on the horizon. As part of the government's $19 billion disaster relief bill, $480 million is being allocated to forestry recovery, the details of which are getting sorted out now as the 2019 hurricane season begins.